Welcome to my thoughts on Sniper and Lethal. I'm just going to preface the video with kind of like an overview of what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to go through, and then I'll dive into the nitty gritty. I'll also have a video of all the runs I did the first time playing Lethal through all the missions and completing them, some with randoms, some with one friend, and just to show that, I was able to do it with randoms with a friend and make it through without a problem. I will say it's not easy, but once you get used to the gimmick of the coherency tether, it really starts to become a lot smoother. A lot of the times I went down, teammates went down, it's just because the game's going to throw a lot at you, and you just, you got to play with it. But as a difficulty, it is doable. And that's kind of the ultimate goal of this video, is just to show people that it is possible. And I just so happen to enjoy Sniper, and this is how I go through it. So I'll start with kind of a Sniper overview. I'll go through the class, and then I'll talk about Sniper and Lethal difficulty kind of like hand in hand, since that's what I have the most experience with. So with that being said, if you just want to see what I ran, I'm just going to show you the stuff on screen right now. You can look at it, you can pause, whatever, and I'll rip through this for you, so you can see what I'm running if you don't really care to hear my actual thoughts on it. Here is all that, and then the combat knife. And the combat knife, I've been thinking about swapping to balance for that speed. Yeah, less damage, but the speed would be helpful. But I don't know. I haven't toyed with it yet, so we'll see. But yeah, if that's all you want, you just want to close down the video, by all means, go for it. So moving into the deep dive, I think a lot of people would consider Sniper to be a weaker class, especially because it doesn't have as much team play, as much team buffs, team perks, that kind of thing. And I would have to agree on paper. It doesn't necessarily have those things as much. But when it really comes down to what your job is, it is taking out Majoris and Extremis the best you can. With certain buffs, in certain ways you can make the class, you can take out ranged Tyranid Majoris and Chaos Majoris in one shot coming out of Cloak, or 2 to 3 depending on how the circumstances work out, which is very powerful, especially since the last Fusil can collateral. That can start to save on ammo, and it can start to rip those higher level targets off the battlefield a lot quicker. The strengths and weaknesses of that playstyle, especially for Sniper, is some of the strengths. I mean, Zoanthropes, man. The Neurothropes. I mean, out of Cloak and like with an Auspex skin, or even without the Auspex skin, I mean, you can just 2-tap those things. One shot and they'll go into execution. Now, having an angle and having the space to do so can be a little tricky, but just use that Cloak and, get used to it. Lictors and Raveners, real tough, man. It's hard to hit those headshots, with your Sniper at least, but as long as you have your parries down and you're paying attention, they're not too bad, and we've got some buffs to our melee damage to help with them. Hordes, tough, but thankfully you've got Cloak up as much as you can, and so it can take that aggro to your other teammates who should be running, other stuff that's more ad clear focused. So on paper, it doesn't really have the buffs that some of the other classes like Heavy or Vanguard or Tactical have, but what you bring to the battlefield is really important. It brings a level of high damage and reliability on being able to stop reinforcement call-ins and just being able to kind of be that Overwatch. And I'll get into how your role changes a little bit in Lethal after I go through all the perks and everything. But yeah, that's kind of what you focus on. That's kind of what you do, and you can definitely get into sticky situations. But how I have the class set up, you should have your Cloak up almost 70 to 80% of the time. It's rare that I run out of the Cloak when I need it. Like, I don't have a charge waiting for me, and that's usually because I was in a really sticky situation and I had to get out. So looking at the class, how do we do this? How do we set this up? And the biggest thing to keep the cloak rolling is your team perk and your gear perks. The team perk debate, I personally, when we were just kind of clearing Ruthless on easy mode, I would take the headshot damage. Because out of cloak, this allowed me to one shot, not even like put into execution, one shot ranged Majorish, and saved me a lot of ammo economy, which was huge. But moving into the lethal, I had to start speccing into a little bit more survivability, and the squad renewal perk, you know, headshots restoring 10% ability charge for everybody, is just a lot more reliable. It means that this can pair with your next perk, renewal, headshot kill restores cloak charge by 5%. This gives you a flat 15 to your ability recharge. You're mostly going to be killing things with headshots. It's rare that you're going to be body shotting stuff as sniper, and with the damage buffs you get to headshots. And you really want to play around that, really lean into it. Your melee damage is kind of mid, but your headshot damage on your pistol and your sniper are crazy. But this ability charge helps your team out. It helps like a tactical get his Auspex scan back. It helps Heavy get his Halo back. It lets Bulwark get his banner back. You know, it's huge, and their abilities don't have the uptime that yours does, and so this just helps them out a lot. And so between those, you're able to pop your cloak, take a shot as soon as you pop your cloak, and that will break the charge and it'll stop it from depleting, which means that you're only going to have like 5 to 15% charge that you need to charge back up through time or getting 1 or 2 headshot kills, and you have your cloak again. What really lets this pop off, unless this really start to move and groove, is your targeted shot. The first range damage, a range attack coming out of cloak is 75% more damage. Crazy, huge buff. Always take it. It's not even worth taking the other stuff. And lingering concealment. After you do an attack that breaks cloak, you remain hidden for 2 more seconds. So this allows you to rattle off 2 to 3 more shots with the last Fusil and still be concealed, which allows you to get that 1, 2, or 3 headshots you need to get your charge back. And so you can see how this engine gets started, and you just kind of start powering through. Going back to the beginning, your core skills, first column kind of sucks, so I just take the melee damage on 10% against Majoris. You're going to be meleeing. Lethal difficulty, you're going to run out of ammo. It's going to happen, and you just kind of have to be ready for it. We take extra ammo. You need shots. You need more ammo. You can kind of be finicky with it and a little conservative with your shots to make sure that you have everything you need for each encounter, but you will run out of ammo, so we want to max it out as much as we can. More ammo, the more damage we can do. The next column, if you have the last Fusil, which I highly recommend, this just allows you to use it more, which is really nice. And there's a lot of times that I can get out of cloak, hit a headshot on 2 ranged Majorish because they line up right, they haven't seen you yet, you're in cloak, and then you get that second shot off, and it's a freebie because you still get the headshot and you get that kill. Especially on Tyranids, that happens a lot more than you would think. If I'm running the bolt rifle, which I try not to anymore, it's just, I wanted it to work, but it just doesn't. You can take the recoil. It's not a crazy thing. And then our last perk, our signature, I used to be a proponent of the evasion. You get cloak after perfect charge, or perfect dodge. For 5 seconds, cooldown 15. I used to think that this was crazy because I don't know for sure if your breaking concealment targeted shot triggers from this with like a gun strike or something and you get that extra damage. But I found I just wasn't perfect dodging enough to get maximum utility out of this. Especially because some of the hitboxes are kind of weird in this game where I feel like I perfect dodge and I get the cloak, I get the concealment, but I don't get the gun strike. And so there's a lot of weirdness, and I just personally don't find it as effective as it could be. And especially on lethal, like I talked about, just having a little bit more defensive capabilities, emergency override has saved me so many times where like there's a Carnifex just bearing down on you, and I for the life of me can't get out of this, bulldozer size hitbox. And cooldown of 3 minutes, the amount of times that you actually have like run ending lethal damage, it's not more than every 3 minutes, unless you're really getting raked over the coals. The AI director is just bearing down on you, and you're just getting unlucky. You're having some bad dodges, some bad parries, and things are really going to shit. Then this, you'll feel it. You'll feel that 3 minutes. But I've also had runs where I use it once, I use it none. So it's really just a make sure that the run goes smoothly, and that you as a sniper, since you're so much squishier, and if you just get caught out, it just kind of gives you that padding. It gives you that ability to keep going, which is really nice. Get a jail free card. Talking about some of the other perks that I think some people would take, block break. If you're wasting your shots on something that's blocking, that's wasted damage potential. That's 75% of your damage just getting pissed away when there's so many other enemies you could be shooting. Or, especially if you use your cloak or something, if you just get to the side of a blocking enemy or behind them, their block doesn't do anything. And especially in certain areas, if you have an angle, you can hit them in the tail or in the foot, and you can just spend one bullet to stagger them, and now you're getting headshots, and now they're going to be staggered, and it's 4 shots instead of like 8 to 10 that it would take if you're just trying to shoot straight through that block. I think it's a complete waste of ammo. Do something else until they get closer, or they attack a different teammate because you like cloak, and then you can snap back to them, get those headshots, help your boy out. Reviving squad mates faster. You have cloak. The revive is not that slow. It's very quick, and if you just play smart, you can get revives off consistently. Second column, reloading, having low ammo increases melee damage. If you're trying to run a rogue type sniper with the bolt carbine and like melee damage, and the melee damage out of cloak, this is what I would run. Reloading while having low ammo increases your melee. You can kind of gimmick this. If you're at low ammo in the red, when your ammo bar turns red, and you just reload a couple shots, you shoot 1, 2, reload, shoot 1, 2, you can keep this buff up like crazy. I haven't personally played with that playstyle yet, but I plan to look into it at some point, because I don't think it'll be optimal, but I think it could be really fun. Moving on to the third column, I would take the reload faster for that playstyle, but for what we're trying to do with the last Fusil, just high damage ranged single target stuff, we just have to take the last few, so it allows you to crowd control at least a little bit better. We're not even using these other weapons, so these two are useless. For the team perk, weapon spread, come on, what are you doing? At least take the headshot damage if you just want more damage and you don't feel like you need the recharge on abilities. I would suggest against that, unless you guys have like a heavy with his iron halo that's able to lead into like a bunch of other stuff. But I still think the ability, because the abilities in this game, the ultimates in this game are so powerful, you just want as much uptime as possible for you and your teammates. If I'm playing solo, I might take the damage for the headshots, but really it saves you 1 bullet for that if you take the headshot damage, which is really nice. But also having cloak up is really, really nice. For the fifth column, auto reloading ranged weapons is useful on the bolt sniper, completely useless on the last Fusil, especially if you have your bolt pistol with the gun strike reload. The pistols already reload really quickly. The last Fusil doesn't reload ever, so this is a waste. I don't even remember the last time I got a negative status effect that like ruined my game. You just wait it out. It sucks. It's a little debuff. Don't worry about it. Plus, recharge is better. Again, for the sixth column, if you're running that rogue playstyle, take this one. Take tactical ambush. Your melee attacks will do more damage. It's much better than the range damage if that's what you're trying to run, because 75% range damage on a bolt carbine shot, like, come on, man. What are you doing? Or like an SMG shot, like, stop. Reviving people and giving them cloak could be useful, but we need damage. We're speccing into as much damage as we can. We're having a little bit of defense just because lethal is a little brutal, especially on the sniper with the tether, but damage. Next column, situationally, this is helpful. I don't technically know what they mean by deactivates. I don't know if that means if it has to run out completely. I don't know if that means when you break cloak, that counts, or if you manually stop it. Also, just taking 20% less health damage. You already get some pretty good damage reduction at low health anyways, and like, you should be keeping your armor as much as possible. Now that's a lot more difficult on lethal than it is on the other difficulties, but this just keeps your cloak engine running, which is what we really want. And again, if you're running that rogue playstyle, I would think about doing this one. Again, I haven't play tested it, but this could help you keep that space that snipers struggle with. It would just kind of give you that breathing room that sometimes you don't have and you can't clear effectively for yourself. For the signatures, this is useless. I mean, we already talked about the cloak engine. Every 3 minutes, if you get 4 consecutive headshots, you get a charge. Like, you should have your cloak up pretty much all the time anyways. And I already talked about these other two. So you can kind of see how this creates this play style of cloak, shoot, get that, like get a headshot kill, get your cloak back, and you just kind of keep churning through your cloaks and just taking out those high level enemies as much as you can. When there's no more Majoris or Extremis on the battlefield, I really try to focus on using my bolt pistol and just get headshots on my Norris, because it's going to be the fastest way to kill them for you. A little bit of spray and pray, hoping you hit those headshots, and then just get a rhythm with your parries. If we look at our knife, we're going to be running fencing just to make sure that we can keep those parries up consistently. And if there's no more Majoris, stay close to your teammates. You can run a mid-range Overwatch sniper, especially with your cloak. The amount of times that, like, I see an enemy that we have to kill, we have to get it out of there, I use my health as a resource. I see my armor getting depleted because I have stuff next to me. I pop my cloak, they fuck off. You're able to get those like 3 shots off, maybe kill something, maybe set up some execution, some like armor bags for your teammates. Then you start taking more health damage, you pop out, you get a parry, you get a kill, you get some of this, you get your health back, you get a little armor. It's all about that rhythm you have to keep up. And the fencing will really allow us to keep that going. Which is really nice. But it's just, you gotta take those enemies out, and if you have and you've done that, try to save your ammo and like kind of do some melee, use those headshots with your pistol, that kind of thing. And parries, kill, insta kill Menors. Parry, dude, just parry farm. And the gameplay you'll see in one of the other videos I put up of just me running through. You see I'm kind of a parry spammer, but I keep expecting the enemies to attack me, and then they don't, and I'm like, why is no one attacking me? Like, I've got all these dudes around me, and no one's swinging? Like, come on. So sometimes I just whiff a ton of parries, and you'll see that. It's kind of funny. But anyways, going through the weapon, last Fusil, ammo. We need ammo, bro. Like, just take it. The charge time, or the damage is not worth losing 8 extra shots that will then coincide or will then compound with all the percentages that we're going to be giving our ammo back, like what we get from our class, that 10% there. And then looking at the perk tree, straight across the top, going down. We're optimizing shot charge rate, 30% headshot damage, 30% shot charge rate, and then 20% ammo. It's kind of the best of all worlds, honestly. I would love to take an extra 20% here, which would give us a 50% ammo buff to this weapon, which would be really, really nice. This would push us up to 30 shots without a heavy running their 25% perk, but even with that, it would just pump you up to like 36 or something crazy. But the missing on shot charge speed and headshot damage is just not worth it. And what do you get in return? You get beam increase. You're turning a high damage weapon that can do a little bit of ad clearing with its collaterals into a partial ad clearing weapon, and it's just not a smart move. This is much better, especially because of this as well. When your health is below 30%, killing 3 enemies or more with 1 shot restores health by 5%. I think this is kind of bugged, because there's been times where I'm really low health, I shoot into a crowd and I'm at full health. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be working, but this has some weird healing intentions, and near the end of the runs and that of all the lethal stuff, I tried to start leaning into this a lot more, especially because you can get ammo back with it. It's just like free health packs, but you really have to make sure you have your angles right, which can be a little bit more difficult in lethal because you want to be with your teammates more. It's harder to get those like alley shots where everything's like spawning from one place and you can get like 7 enemies in 1 shot. But it's something to think about, and it is a tool in your repertoire. But yeah, I think this is the best way to run the Fusil. High damage, high shot speed. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everyone's probably running this. It's the smartest way to do it. Comparing the bolt sniper to the last Fusil. I would take ammo for this, and I would take ammo regen here. It does have really good ammo economy, especially because we can keep increasing the reserves and we can keep doing all this. But if you even just look at this tree, it only gets 20% headshot damage bonus, whereas the last Fusil gets 30% from its perk tree. And in general, it already does less damage than the last Fusil. And so the amount of, like, I really wanted this to be my gun of choice on sniper. It fits my aesthetic a lot more. I like the run and gun playstyle a lot more. I like to pop up, hit a shot, dodge, pop up, hit a shot. But the damage, man, you just gotta hit like 4, 5 headshots to kill something. And we have to do our perk tree in this funky little way, because if you take this perk here, after a finisher, equipped weapon instantly reloads. That cannibalizes our ammo regen and ruins our ammo economy. So if you really just want to say fuck it and you're running lower tiers and you don't really care and you want the aesthetic, I agree with you, and I would play the bolt sniper rifle, because it's cool to me. It's cool factor. But you gotta know that you're gonna feel a little bit weak. You're not gonna be killing things as quickly. The one benefit that the bolt sniper has over the last Fusil is if they are calling in reinforcements, this can stop them with 1 shot, whereas the last Fusil is 2 to 3, depending on if they're enraged or something. So it is better for that, but you don't get as much collateral with this, so your shots can get blocked. There's drop, there's this, like, it's not a laser beam. So it has to travel. So sometimes you have to lead shots depending on how far away they are. So it's just a little bit too finicky for not enough reward. And I still end up finding that I'm running out of ammo, even when I get to this perk. And I'm pretty sure this perk also, it doesn't mean you have to hit different enemies. It just means the amount of shots that you hit. Because I play tested at least a little bit, and I saw that if I just shot one homie 6 times, that was 3 shots in my pocket. So it is really helpful, but I also just didn't want to have to think about the ammo and when I'm reloading and how many things I hit and making sure I'm optimizing all this. It just wasn't worth it. It slowed me down. I didn't kill things when I needed to kill things, because at the end of the day, you are the Overwatch for your team. And that means you need to be able to kill stuff or set up executions for your homies that are in the thick of it. And your cloak allows you to do that, and the last Fusil allows you to really put things down. So that's kind of like where I fall on it. Is the last Fusil wasn't my first pick because it wasn't aesthetically what I wanted, but gameplay wise, on lethal difficulty, you gotta do it, man. I'm sorry, but between the two, it's just better. The bolt pistol, I've been running high accuracy so I can get those headshots to allow me to get my charges back for my cloak. There is something to be said about ammo though, just because sniper is gonna really struggle with ammo. But some of the things I found, losing that 3 accuracy, was sometimes I'd just be mag dumping into a Majoris straight into the dome, and the bloom, it would just get so wide that I would have the crosshair straight on their head and shots would be missing. And at that point I'm like, is the ammo really worth it if I'm missing half of my shots? Or I could just hit all my shots and do all the headshot damage I need to do. So that's kind of my philosophy on it. If you are really running out of ammo, which is very possible in lethal, think about taking the ammo one instead. But that's up to, your personal preference. Here are the perks. It's almost identical to the last Fusil. Straight across the top, we get bullet spread, negation, increase that accuracy, we get headshot damage, we get gun strikes, reloading our weapon. It reloads quickly anyways, but it really helps you kind of like in that flow state. You're getting those gun strikes, just allows you to keep shooting, especially because we're only gonna have a 14 ammo mag, which is gonna go quickly. But the headshot damage is really nice. Getting an execute on a Majoris or something gives you more headshot damage. I think this only applies to your pistol, but the way the verbiage is it would apply to your sniper as well. I haven't really messed around with this. Just think of it as passive help. You have to take it anyways. Could help you out. On the knife, I run fencing for now. It just allows me to consistently hit those parries when I need to. I think there is something to be said for the balance. Because the speed you get, that 3 speed is no joke, man. It cranks. You are a fucking machine out there just swinging. But I really just like the reliability of this, honestly. And you could say get good, which I would say to myself, but when you need to parry, you need to parry. Especially on sniper, where if you just miss 1 or 2 parries, you could just be down straight up. You've got a lot of Majoris on you, like melee guys just ripping on you, Tyranid. Warriors and stuff just going crazy, and that kills you. That puts you down. For the perk tree, honestly, it's personal preference. It really depends on if you want this shoulder bash or if you don't want the shoulder bash. The shoulder bash does not do a lot of damage, but it's an AoE that can give you some space if you're getting crowded, and it'll give you a guaranteed gun strike. Because you're hitting so many enemies in such a wide area, I don't miss as much as I miss with the other evading sprinting attack, where you do the double strike. I miss that a lot. I think that one's a little bit quicker, more high damage, and you travel further, which is nice for closing the gap. But the shield bash I just found has been more consistent when I'm like, I need a gun strike real quick. I'll just do a dodge melee, and then get that gun strike real quick. So that's kind of how I use it. I don't really use it for anything else besides that. Starting out on the top, I hate this perk, especially on lethal. It doesn't happen that often. But in order to get this, which is helpful, which is light, heavy, light, heavy. Those are the combos for this. I have really been enjoying using heavy attacks, which is why I also try to build where I ran this. Right below it, the kinetic energy, increasing your attack damage with heavy attacks, the more you heavy attack. But I wanted to be able to get both these melee damage here, these 5%ers. I wanted the Tyranid damage increase, and I wanted the extremist buff, and I wanted potentially this too, but the amount of times I melee Terminus is not often. But I really wanted to get here, just because a lot of times we're going to be meleeing extremist enemies in Tyranid missions because of the Lictors and the Raveners. It's going to happen a lot more. So now we have a 30% buff to that, including our class tree. But this is how I run it. There is something to be said for snagging all three 5% melee damage bonuses, but I just decided that I think I like the shield bash or the shoulder bash better. So that kind of moves into talking about lethal and sniper. My thoughts on it. I think patch 4.0 was an interesting step. After playing a lot more lethal, I'm much more okay with the changes. They honestly didn't really nerf anything into the ground. The coherency tether is really obnoxious, and I think it takes some of the fun factor out of the game, but it does not make it impossible to win. I like the difficulty. I just think, like everyone else is saying, I'm not the first person to say this, but it just has to be tweaked, man. It really starts to hinder the play styles that they created in these classes, and this starts to cannibalize it. And you're seeing a lot more consolidation on the choices that people take. I'm running into a lot of bulwarks, a lot of assault. No, not a lot of assault, sorry. A lot of bulwark, a lot of vanguard, and tactical. Those are the three that I'm really seeing a lot. Assault, sniper, and heavy kind of fall by the wayside. I think heavy has a ton of damage potential, has a ton of team perks that I love a lot, but their survivability lacks a little bit sometimes, at least when people are trying to solo queue or that kind of thing. Whereas like tactical, vanguard, and bulwark just have so much more survivability and bring so much more to the team consistently that already play in some of those like hovering around your teammates more. It already starts to lean into that. Which I think sucks. I don't think a game developer should be de-incentivizing you to play a class that you want to play, that they created a play style for. They made this power fantasy. You like this power fantasy. This is the way you want to play the game, and now you're getting punished for it. I think that's dumb. I like that they're trying to increase teamwork and team cohesion. I think it just needs to be tweaked. That being said, if you just want to complete some lethal missions, you just want to do it, do the chaos missions, man. Do Reliquary, Fall of Atreus, and I think Vox Liberatus. Those are all the like chaos ones. They're significantly easier unless you're running something like I tend to do on like my heavy, as I run like multi-melta. I struggled a lot more on the chaos missions that way, but for pretty much all the other classes, maybe bulwark aside, the chaos are so much easier. There's less enemies. The extremist spawns are more forgiving because there's only like 2 like guys and they're kind of chill, especially with the patch 3.0 that they put out that made them easier. It's just not the amount, like the ammo economy is so much easier because there's less enemies. On sniper, it was a freaking cakewalk. Unless there's a hellbrood or something that I'm struggling with, I don't really break a sweat in the lethal missions with chaos. On sniper, being said. So overall, I think I like the changes overall, I gotta say. I like that I have to think about how I'm playing. I like that there is a difficulty above Ruthless that you potentially need to make a pre-made squad with. I don't think you need to. I ran some solo queue with some randoms that worked totally fine, but I think a lot of these changes need to be reserved for Ruthless and Lethal. I think some of the lower difficulties getting the same AI director buff was a little bit much. I think that's a little bit too punishing for either more average players, because not everyone can play as much, or also if you're just trying to level up a new class and you don't have any of the weapons leveled up, and now you're just getting bent over in average, you know, that's kind of crazy. But I think that people are freaking out. I think it's definitely takes the fun out, and if that's enough for you to not play, by all means go for it. But I like having higher difficulty, and at this point, yeah, we might go down, we might get into some sticky situations, but I don't feel like it's too hard, honestly. Especially with the way I've been playing the sniper, and once I kind of got the rhythm of it, I felt a lot better. Now, if you start making mistakes, lethal is going to be incredibly punishing, and you know, you'll get into some trouble, but especially once you learn the missions a lot more, you'll stop getting surprised as much. You'll know where things are coming from, all this kind of stuff. So those are kind of my thoughts on lethal, but moving into sniper in particular on lethal, I think it's a great pick. I think a lot of people underrate it because of those other classes I've mentioned before, how much they bring to the table. But because you're dealing with so many Majoris, having someone that can just take those out and be kind of like that Overwatch for you is incredibly helpful. It just reduces the load that your teammates need to worry about by a lot. You have to be snaky and slippery though as a sniper. You can't just, like, you have to farm your chameleon cloak and just keep it rolling, keep the engine going. And I think what you lack in Perk Tree nodes or your class tree, you make up for the fact of like what your actual role and presence is on the battlefield. I think Heavy is probably the best support character, just the amount of buffs that they have, but I think your ability to just kill at all distances and potentially get rid of threats before they even become threats as sniper is huge, and I found it to be incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding. And so the gameplays that I have in that other video that should be up with this one, I just want to show you that you can do it. You can complete lethal. It isn't too hard. You just have to play around the gimmick. And who knows, you know, maybe they patch it today, they patch it in a couple days, this week sometime. They said they're gonna patch some stuff, make some changes, but it's entirely possible. You just have to know your character's playstyle, how you fit into your role. In this video I talked about sniper, and how your role is, but it goes for all the other classes, and just have fun with it, man. I mean, I personally find very difficult things like Souls games and like this rewarding. I find overcoming the challenge and almost making it trivial in a way, which I don't think lethal has become trivial. I think it's still very something you need to like respect, but that is fun. That is accomplishment for me, and if it's not for you, don't play lethal, man. Lethal doesn't have to be for everybody. It can just be the hardest difficulty. That being said, I wish we got more cosmetics, man. I mean, what? We got this helmet, damaged helmet, and I think there's also like a bulwark power sword skin that you also get. Yeah, I guess I have it. Look at that, which looks really cool, but like that's it. I thought we would get, you know, maybe some armor stuff for every class, you know, like either full things or whatever, but I don't know, man. I think that was a little bit of a fumble, especially when they teased that being kind of the thing. Because most people that are running lethal max their class out. I mean, look, I have all the cosmetics. I have, yeah, 20 legendary relic tier, which I think is the max. I can't even get any more. Like, we're running lethal because we want to get better at the game. We want the challenge. So you need like a cosmetic reward, because just getting the credits and the armory data isn't enough at this point. But, you know, I mean, the game has only been out for like, what, a month or two? So I think they're doing a great job. I think this was kind of a misstep, at least PR related, but you can do it, man. It's not too hard, especially if you try to run what I'm running. You watch how I play, and I'm ass, honestly. If you do watch those missions, if you're struggling with a particular mission and you want to kind of see how I approach it as a sniper, go look at it, I miss a lot. I miss parries a lot, I miss dodges a lot, I waste ammo a lot, and that's all stuff that I'm having fun working on and getting better at, so I can become the ultimate sniper on a team. And if I'm already able to clear this stuff, doing all that head-ass shit, you'll be fine. Now, the next thing I also want to try to tackle is solo, running some of these missions solo on lethal. I've never been the type of gamer that can do that kind of thing consistently in a lot of games. In Destiny, I did a bit of it. I tried as much as I could, but that's kind of going to be the next challenge that I have to tackle, and I don't think lethal is meant for that, and I think that is a good thing. That makes trying to run missions solo that much more appealing to me. If it was meant to be for like a full made squad, it just gives me all the more reason to try to do it solo, all the more clout for doing it solo. But alas, I've been rambling. That's my sniper, that's how I run it. Those are my thoughts on lethal and sniper and the whole works. Yeah, I hope everyone fucks off or something, I don't know.